And we are live. It's been a little bit of a time since we've done any type of MASKast, and we still are looking forward to doing a combined effort with our other fellow agents, Bill and Eric. We're still trying to get things lined up because we know, well, a couple comics have come out as well as an annual now.
Yep.
So we were hoping we can get online and together and MASKast it up at some point. But tonight we're going to be actually talking about episode 50.
Can you believe we're 2/3 of the way through the show?
It only took us, what,
Actually,
5 or 6 years?
yeah, 2/3. Oh gosh. Yeah, I think we started in 2012, February 2012.
That sounds about
Wow.
right. Yeah, so it's 5 years now that we've been mass casting these essentially play-by-play mask episodes, and it's been
Yeah.
fun. I still look forward to it. I'm 41 years old, and I'm still looking forward to talking about mask. And then when we get on our other entity, that is Memory Jogger, I swear I've hit the what was the Fountain of Youth and gone back to the like 14, and we're talking about high school days or uh, our school crushes and all that as far as the topics.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. It is a rush, and you know we get talking, and there's some nights I'm like, how did I remember that? It's something things that you've suppressed, but oh, you got a call from Tracker.
Yeah, one of the many 50,000 ringers that they come up. No, this is actually my mom, but
Ah,
I will silence it for now, which she's used to by now. Um, I don't know why she's calling this so late, but nonetheless, uh,
yeah.
I don't know if you even heard that. I have the uh, what is it? It's Optimus Prime from the original '80s movie, right where he's getting ready to do his final battle scene. He goes, "Megatron must be stopped, no matter the cost." And that's my when I miss a call.
Oh, I thought that's what you had for your mom. I was gonna say.
No, hers is just a plain old. For years, this phone, this new flip phone, newer flip phone, doesn't have the classic phone. And I used to use that as kind of a gag in the old,
Oh,
Bell type
uh-huh.
rotary phone, kind of a personal gag. That's what we grew up with. But
I
no,
used to
so
have songs for every pretty much everybody in my contacts,
mhm.
and that's when I switched phones or upgraded. I didn't get all those songs that came over, but there's a song called "Mother" by Danzig that used to be my mother's ringtone. Mother, tell your children not to come my way. Remember that song?
Yeah. Well, just before we got on, we were just kind of going over a couple ringtones of what I have for people. The general lead, the Dixie horn, is my generic ringer for anybody, any and everybody that calls. And then, of course, everybody and certain people in the family have their own ringers.
Yeah. You're one of the few that has his own ringtone on my phone. Yours is the Airwolf theme.
Yeah.
I'll probably keep that for as long as I have a phone.
Well,
And then everybody else gets the "Who Can It Be Now" by Men at Work. That's my generic ringtone. Works out well.
yeah. Well, I have a few specific ones. My dad is actually the theme song to the Dukes of Hazzard. And then my wife, we were just talking. My wife has the Ecto One siren, um, and then her ringtone for text is "Form Blazing Sword" from Voltron.
Nice.
Your ringtone, I think we've discussed before, but just in case we didn't, uh, most people know that we worked in our hometown radio station, and I no one knows about this, but I copy just about every promo, meaning the in-station commercials, and then all the liners and the IDs for both the AM and the FM side. And our favorite was the FM, of course. So Jason's is the FM Thunder ID is what we call it. So at the top of the hour, and then I just switched for about 3 or 4 years. Your text message was a little tiny 2-word line from the Stooges. It was a Halloween style episode where he just Curly says, "Phone, sir," and you used to love that gag for a while, and I finally just got the snippet and threw it on my phone. And I'm listening to our memory jogger. I've been getting really sentimental about QIX lately, so I took what's called our shotgun, which is just a really like a 1 second quick sound, and QAX 93.5. So that's what his is.
Good
Bernie,
times.
yeah, Bernie has his text message is Roscoe when he goes EG. And then his ringtone is actually the A-Team theme song, but with just a straight out do, 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 do. But that's all I have
Nice.
set up for now.
He just joined the 40 team, didn't he?
He did.
I
Happy
saw.
birthday, Bernie. And he started out. He bought it from an apartment building back home, and he's building up a small little. I want to say it's like a thrift retro
Nice.
consignment style shop. It's called Revived and Company. It's built into the building itself. I never was in the Plimptonville school until he owned it. But on the basement level, I'll call it, there are several rooms, one of which is a kitchen, an old kitchen, and that's what he's converted a lot of those basement rooms into. Um, Basically, big, huge storefront. He knocked down a wall, and it's
Cool.
supposed to be a huge complex. But I haven't seen it since he rebuilt it. He's supposed to have a grand opening this month, and I'm gonna try to get up there. Can't make a guarantee, and he knows that, but try to get up
Well,
there.
I love thrifting, so when I'm home next, I'm going to be checking that out.
Well, I'm surprised when you go home, you don't go up to Lightsingers. Lightsingers is nothing but 5 floors of
Oh, really?
thrifting. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, it's a big antique consignment place.
I always that's away from my mind when I'm home, but I'm going to have to make that a priority next
It's
time.
hard to see it as a consignment shop. That was the big department store for us back in the day.
Yeah.
First floor was jewelry and something. They had a small half step up, I call it, which was the shoe department. Then you just kind of went up floors, and the famous one for us was, I think, the 5th floor, which was the toy store. And then I don't know why they did this, probably because of space, but it didn't make sense to me. But do you remember the back half of that place? This should be a memory jogger podcast. Do you remember the back half was a China? It was the fine China department. So it never made sense. Kids in the toy store with the fine China in the back half. It just never made sense. But
Yeah, I don't want the kids playing around the fine china and
they did that for years. It obviously didn't do too much damage, or they would have moved it.
yeah. I can remember buying an Insecticon transformer
Mm-hmm.
from Lightsingers.
I can't remember
So,
what. I think that's where I bought Condor. Not 100%, but I think
really?
that's where I bought Condor.
Cool. Well, speaking of Condor and speaking of our favorite entity, let's go ahead and get the podcast started, shall we?
We shall.
Good. Okay. Got my notes up and let's let it roll because we got I think 4 or 5 reviews tonight. We got some catching up to do and get your mask on. So let's roll out. Wrong show.
Mask on.
Before we start, I gotta tell you, my 3-year-old daughter. Of course, I went through the whole entire G.I. Joe series recently. I bought the DVD set, and I figured, nah, I'll just go through it again. And she started watching with me, watching more than my 10 and 12-year-old boys. And then out of the blue, this is no prompting or anything. I don't remember ever watching Transformers with her, but a couple of days after I finished, she's like, "Daddy, I want to watch the robot cars." Okay, we can watch the robot car. And maybe she saw it as, we were scrolling through Netflix or something. But we started watching the Rescue Bots. Does your son watch the Rescue Bots?
Yes, he's really starting to get into that now.
Cool. I mean, it's good for their age. I can't really watch it. Although some of it's funny and entertaining, I'll say, but of course it's, geared for young kids. But
Yes, it is.
anyway, I thought I'd share that little story.
I want to get.
I'm gonna have to. I got the Transformers Shout Factory set on my Amazon wish list now, and
Nice.
and also the GoBots. The GoBots, they've released miniseries. I think it's like 5 episodes, and then Volume 1 and Volume 2. But I don't know if how many seasons or whatever that covers. So I think it's Warner Archive maybe that does the GoBots.
I don't know.
I'll have that actually ties into something we're going to be talking about tonight. Anyway,
I'm
you
trying
ready?
to. I'm ready. I just 1 second. I'm trying to get Adam interested in the real Transformers. Remember the 80s the movie, that version of the song, Transformers song. I got him
Yeah.
really loving that. So I keep telling him I need to introduce him to the real Transformers, is what I call them. However, Netflix has them, of course, wiped off.
Right.
And I do have I think it's the season 1 of the original generation Transformers, and I have it. The downside is because we're prepping to move, it's all in storage, so all my DVDs are there, which sucks. But
yeah, I've been looking at that, and the Shout Factory has that set on there. I think it's around $40 or $50. But
that's come down then, because it was for a while it was around the $80 price tag.
Was it? Yeah, every once in a while Amazon will run a sale, and I think that's when I got G.I. Joe. I got that thing for less than 40.
Nice.
I think it was maybe 36 or 37 when that came down. But I wish they dropped that Shout Factory M.A.S.K set down $20. I think it still hovers around $55-$60. And
well, my wife is big on getting rid of all the DVDs. She thinks it's extra. She thinks it's excess because you got Netflix and we have Hulu, which she's right. The problem with it is Netflix deletes stuff periodically, and that's why I don't get rid of my DVDs. And at the moment I'm standing my ground. We'll see how long that lasts.
Well,
but
I noticed something on Amazon just a couple days ago. I hope it becomes a trend. But Mill Creek Entertainment, they've released some shows, namely Cops.
Nice.
And Jason the Wheeled Warriors. They have both of those shows, the full series, which I think both ran for 65 episodes, and the digital download or digital copy of all the episodes. And they were on Amazon. For each of them were less than $10. And I was like, oh, that's a no-brainer. Well, I've already got the full Cop series. I think you actually got that for me one year. I haven't I don't ever remember watching Jason the Wheeled Warriors, but to have the digital copy as well and it's less than $10, I mean that's like free.
Yeah, really.
To me. For 65 episodes.
I used to love me some Cops. In fact, Legos. When I gave my son my Legos, right? I came across a little piece, nothing fancy, but I recall when I was growing up, triggers memories. I used to make the one police car as best as I could in Legos quite often. I'd rebuild it. I'd build it, rebuild it, rebuild it. And one of the last Lego pieces I made, it had the siren on top, one lone, red light on the top, and I used to fake it with it's the four. I don't know how to put it. It's a single space Lego, right? It only
Hmm.
fits on one little peg, but it's four-sided. And I used to put red little the clear sort of red lenses on it as
Hmm.
my cop light. It was all put together from 20 years ago or however long the last time I used played with it, 30 years probably. And I remember that triggered a memory going, oh yeah, I used to make that cop's car. Yeah. Oh wow, this is still together. Wow. So we
Cool.
should keep
Cool.
going, get going, otherwise we're
Oh
going
yeah.
to turn this
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
memory jogger.
All right. Here we go. Welcome, agents, to MASKast 65 and the final episode review in our 10-episode Season 5 stretch of the Mobile Armored Strike Command animated series. Coming up on this show, we will take a look at Episode 50, Everglades Oddity, including our usual play-by-play commentary with audio clips mixed in from the actual episode. We will pause to give our opinions and our 1 to 5 scale rating at the dramatic halfway point and at the conclusion of the episode. After we've given our final verdict, we'll give the results of our online poll and also read back our listener reviews posted at agentsofmask.com and our social media outlets. The easiest way to participate in these review podcasts is by visiting our website and look for the MASKast assignment in the right-hand column. Everglades Oddity was originally broadcast on December 6, 1985 in the United States and features Matt Tracker being bitten by a venomous snake. And while he recovers, Alex Sector, along with a little bit of Scott and T-Bob, they must lead the M.A.S.K team to stop Venom's plan of stealing the NASA Space Shuttle. I'm Jason, one of your hosts of MASKast, and with me, as always, is my longtime friend and fellow co-host, the Max Steel to my 100. Wyatt, are you ready to take on any mission, anytime, any place?
Anywhere. Except I have no idea what you're talking about. I should, but it doesn't sound familiar.
I was trying to remember if we had gone over this before, but this is in reference to a short-lived toy line and even shorter-lived animated series called Robo Force. Now, if you can remember, these were little action figures that were robots. They had a suction cup on the bottom, and then they had like movable arms and little action that they could do with their arms and such. It came out about 1984. Did you remember having any of those little figures or anything?
Not at all. That must have blew past me.
Well, while you're Googling RoboForce, I actually remember having, I think it was the leader is Max Steel. I remember having at least him and maybe one other of those figures, and they were pretty cool. Like I said, it was short-lived, and I think just in recent years, they another company has taken over the copyrights and license and all that, and released a few. I guess you would call like revamped figures at Comic Cons and such as like exclusives, but to basically promote the toys, they did a half-hour special back in 1984, and the cast was, in my opinion, stellar. The voice cast, and I'm going to read back to you the who was all involved in this half-hour special called Robo Force: Revenge of the Nazgar, which you can find actually over on YouTube. The character Cruel was played by Michael Bell,
Nice.
who of course is Duke on G.I. Joe.
And Lance on Voltron.
Yeah. Roger Bumpus He played Mark Fury. He's Squidward on SpongeBob SquarePants now.
Hmm.
He was also Louis Tully on The Real Ghostbusters. Arthur Burghardt, he played Nazgar and another character called the Sentinel. Of course, he's Destro.
Oh
He's the
yeah.
guy that's going
Yeah.
to be at RetroCon this year. Peter Cullen, we know who Peter Cullen is, Optimus Prime. He played a couple characters in this special. Ron Feinberg, he played the character 100. He was Andre the Giant in Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm trying to get like maybe the most famous things that these guys have done. David Mendenhall, he played one of the human characters named Jason Fury, I guess the son. He was the kid in Over the Top. Remember that movie with Sylvester Stallone with the arm wrestling?
No, I do. I don't think I've watched that movie.
He also did the voice for Daniel Witwicky in Transformers the movie.
Hmm.
Robert Ridgely, he has fortunately passed away. He was in that. He played Thundar. Remember Thundar the Barbarian?
Yeah.
That cartoon.
Yeah.
He was also the voice of Pitfall Harry on the video game show. Crap.
Yeah, and you just said it a little bit ago, didn't you?
Supercade, Saturday Supercade.
Yeah, yeah.
He played the voice of Pitfall Harry. Neil Ross, you know who Neil Ross is.
Oh yeah.
Keith Uncle. He played a character called Blazer. John Stevenson, who played Dr. Fury in the RoboForce special, he's passed away now. But he did several supporting voices and villains on Scooby-Doo. He was some supporting characters like General Flag on G.I. Joe. And he was also Thundercracker on Transformers. I got two more for you.
Okay.
BJ Ward. She played Dina Strong. She was Scarlet on G.I. Joe.
What's her name?
And BJ Ward.
Oh yeah, she's I think she was Princess Allura on the original Voltron.
Could be.
think is who she's from.
She was also Smallfoot on the GoBots. And the last one that was involved with this special is Alan Young, who unfortunately passed away. He played Scrooge McDuck on DuckTales.
Yeah.
So that was the cast involved in this half-hour special. They only made that one little episode to support RoboForce. But what I was talking about in the pre-show with the Challenge of the GoBots release that Warner Archive has done, on the Volume 2 DVD set, you can also find this RoboForce special. It's the first time it's ever been released to DVD. Very interesting.
Very interesting. And I'm just confirming I was right. She did play Princess Allura. She also was Witch Hagar. She played that character as well. I forgot she played both voices.
Cool. So. Yeah, so that's a pretty incredible cast for a cartoon that basically the pilot episode that didn't take off. So go check that out on YouTube. Just search for RoboForce Revenge of Nazgar and check that out. It's actually pretty good. I've watched it a couple times on there. There's a couple of those short-lived or like one episode series on YouTube you can find, and tried to chronicle them a little bit with Rediscover the 80s YouTube into a playlist. But go check that out, man. There's some pretty good actors on there.
Gonna have to.
So, well, speaking of actors and voice actors, that was not a good segue, but let's get our mask on.
You might want to try that again, because I was talking when you just said that.
Okay. So let's get our mask on. Well, since we last did a podcast, I did a little giveaway on Twitter. And quick shout out to the winner, who was Bill Norris. He won a few comics, and I printed out another set of those little papercraft figure templates. And I think I threw in a sticker and some other little things. So yeah, I've been trying to get another one together. Maybe we'll do another one back over on Facebook pretty soon, I would say. Just trying to get all of the little elements and stuff and make it a pretty cool giveaway. But like you mentioned a little bit there in the pre-show, the M.A.S.K comic series has been moving right along. I think last time we were saying there could be up to 4 issues released in March, and they almost did that. They got 3 out. M.A.S.K number 3 on March 1st. That M.A.S.K Annual number 1 came out March 15th, and then M.A.S.K number 4 on March 29th. Having not seen the latest on M.A.S.K number 5. I'm hoping maybe, well, let's see. We've already passed Wednesday this week. Maybe next week. But Darren over on Twitter, Darren Gregson, he usually sends me a message because since he works at a comic shop when that's getting ready to be released the following week, and haven't heard from him. But yeah, we're hoping maybe as soon as possibly this weekend, getting together with Eric and Bill and trying to kind of get our review so far, I guess, being 4 issues in, and also that annual, which basically ties into what Brandon Easton was doing, even though it's written by, I believe, a different person, the annual book. But yeah, I'll save it for that because there is a few points, good and bad, that I've pulled out of there so far, and I'm getting the point where I think maybe after issue 5, I'm definitely going to keep buying the book. So far, I've been getting basically every cover that's been put out, sometimes up to 4, usually about 4 covers, which includes the regular Tommy Lee Edwards cover. But I might just slack off and get 1 copy moving forward, just because I'm getting a little overkill on the comics purchasing.
Yeah. I'm slightly behind the times when it comes to the comics. I haven't kept up. I think I've only read 2, so I need to get my homework mask on
Yes.
to get caught up, especially if we're going to do a podcast this weekend. Of course, I might not be available depending on when I can fly out of here.
Yeah. Well, we might just wait until you do become a little more available since you're traveling, but do want to hash it out with our buddies.
Yeah, of course.
Anything on your end?
Just
wanted to mention?
Just really a plug, shameless plug, but still a plug nonetheless. Like we've said, kind of off and on, we've been really traveling down memory lane lately with Memory Jogger, and I tell you what, it's been a thrill. And just want a quick plug: go listen to it. Rediscoverthe80s.com. I think we've actually got another good broadcast series going on. It's been fun. In fact, on the plane ride down, that's all I listen to is Memory Jogger, and that's what I've been listening to in the car. I should be listening to everything else. That's the local area where I'm at, and I swear I just can't get enough of living the old days of whether it's high school or even the original startup, the Meet the Hosts. It's been fun in between. So
yeah, been really fun, and you can also just go to your whatever podcast app you use and just type in Memory Jogger. You should be able to find it. Excuse me. It's on the rediscover the 80s feed. So go check that out if you want to hear us babble on for hours about our childhood adventures.
It's fun. It just relives my memories. In fact, while we
Yeah,
were just talking about it on the pregame here, pre-show, that essentially, I've been reliving our radio station days, and like I said, I saved most of the liners and stuff, so I've kind of been reliving that. It's short little
yeah,
clips, but it's still kind of fun to hear old QIX 93.5 pop up.
yep.
So.
Cool. Just a couple more things. Wanted to plug a few people within the community that's been putting some stuff out there. The Weapons Forge toy design, our buddy Bjorn, he's done some, he's into everything. He's done some art and photoshopping work for us. And he also does this, it's basically 3D printing. And he's put together many different accessories to make the M.A.S.K toys, I guess, more screen accurate, you would say. Some little things for Gator here and there, and a little fun stuff. There's a little gun that came out the bottom of Thunderhawk on a couple episodes, that kind of a thing. If you want to take your toys essentially to the next level, and he's come up with this nice little custom display for your figures, complete with the little nameplate, and there's a little holder for the mask, and of course the pegs to stand your little figure on. So head over to, it's just called Weapons Forge Toy Design on Facebook. It's probably the easiest way to get to their shop and check that out. And another person in the community that's really caught my eye lately was the art designer Shiru Deku, I think is what he goes by on DeviantArt. You've seen some of these portraits of the M.A.S.K team, kind of in that 80s neon style. Some pretty cool fonts and stuff he's using, and then these just amazing pictures he's put together. I did a second post on the site. He's got more characters now, and there's even some new looks. He did the how the the box is that red with the slanted white line, the toy boxes. He used that kind of imagery on some stuff, and it's been really cool. And actually asked him if he wouldn't mind kind of revamping our logo. I don't even know if you saw that, Wyatt.
I have. It's awesome.
He kind of jazzed that up and made it a little more neon in the middle, almost like energizing the M.A.S.K in the logo, and just put the really cool kind of reflection on that as well. So props to him for just essentially keeping M.A.S.K at the forefront and doing a little some tribute work there for all the characters and vehicles and such, and helping us out with our logo there. Looks really cool. If you want to go over to Facebook, I put it up on Facebook, and it's on Twitter, the logo, the new logo we're using. So thank you to him. And I think that's about it for Get Your Mask On, unless you got anything else there, partner.
I do not.
Well, let's head down to Florida and go trampsing through the Everglades.
Yes, let's start the MASKast. We begin episode 50 as we fade up on a gentle river with a couple young boys canoeing down it. They stumble upon a camouflage net with the space shuttle underneath. One of the boys, Mike, is inquisitive and wants to investigate, while the other is a bit timid. Mike walks in with the other boy, closing the door, saying at least the door works. However, it is now jammed, and the boys begin to shout for help. In a lab, the boy is yelling at Mr. Sector, who is harvesting some venom from a snake. Too bad it's not from the real Venom, guys. No, no. Anyway, the boy insists that he come help rescue his friend. We now learn that the other boy's name is Osk, I think is how it's pronounced.
I think so.
At first, I thought it was Rosk, and I'm like, okay, if you're just gonna call him Ross, call him Roscoe at least. Have some fun with it. Later on, I found out it was Osk without the R. Anyway, Alex thinks it isn't too uncommon as Cape Canaveral is not too far away and suggests they go there in his airboat. Arriving, Alex uses a crowbar to remove the door from the shuttle and Mike emerges. He asks the boys to wait while he jogs over and grabs his M.A.S.K laptop, which I didn't know he had his own M.A.S.K laptop now.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. I thought that was kind of cool that maybe Matt's passing along more resources than we know
That's it.
to the at least to Alex, who's kind of his tech guy.
True.
Well, him and Bruce.
Yeah. Our next scene takes us to the Tracker Mansion.
Yes, and T-Bob's grilling some hamburgers on the barbecue. He stops to imagine having his own cooking show while Matt and Scott are flying their remote control airplanes. Matt says he's got the Red Baron now, as Scott says, no, you don't, and watch this. And he makes his red plane do a loop and falls right behind Matt's blue plane. Well, as they fly past T-Bob, he mistakenly plucks Scott's plane out of the air instead of a nearby stack of burgers, and he proceeds to smash it down with his spatula right into the grill. And Scott screams out, "Wait, my plane!" T-Bob thinks it's a little well done as Matt continues to fly his plane around and even through the legs of T-Bob. Scott tells T-Bob he fried his plane while Matt jokes he doesn't remember the Red Baron being such a short order cook. Well, Matt finally lands his plane and T-Bob jumps up on a chair saying he's a tall order cook. Here we go with these little jokes here.
Right.
But Matt chuckles and his wristwatch beeps saying he's getting a call from Alex.
That was the nastiest freaking alarm too. They just got
They've
worse
used that
and worse.
before.
Have they? Because that was nasty.
Well, they've used it before, but it's the consistency factor with the sound effects that we're used to one sound, that kind of smooth back and forth sound, and this was just a blaring blaring alarm almost. Anyway, so we head back inside to the kind of Boulder Hill computer there, or at least the computer that Matt uses inside the mansion.
I nicknamed it for this one. I called it Mansion Command Center because that's where
There
they're
you
at.
Go. True. Alex tells Matt via the video conference there that he's found something unusual, a space shuttle replica made of plywood. Matt is interested enough that he tells him they'll be there immediately. Scott and T-Bob run up, and Matt questions if the Red Baron and the tall order cook want to explore the Everglades. They both nod, and he tells them to go get their gear and head for Thunderhawk. And they both give an all right. So after this, we fade into a little bit later time where Alex, Matt, and Scott and T-Bob and those two boys are back at the river. And Alex tells Matt that the shuttle is a complete fake and that the outer shell is the only thing that's detailed. And then Matt then questions why someone would build it and dump it in the Everglades. Asks one of the boys if he knows what they're talking about, and the boy says after the grown-ups are done fooling with it, they'll go back later and check it out. So these little boys here are about as mischievous as Scott is.
Oh yeah.
As far as going behind the parents or adults' back. But after this, we see Matt and Alex take off in the airboat.
Right inside, but back in they take off on the airboat, like you said. I'll set it up. You've set it up. Sorry,
That's
I'm
okay.
perplexed. Like you said, they do take off on the airboat, and our next scene actually lands us into the shuttle, which looks like it is about ready to lift off. Then we cut back or cut into the inside mission control, where we see the team preparing for the launch. This older man, which seems out of place already, but he's sneaking around and opens this little tiny door and presses a button, then promptly closes it and walks out of the room with no one even knowing what he's done. Outside, he ends up radioing that the security lockdown has been disabled. We hear Miles on the other end replying confirmation uh, replies with the confirmation stating he's done his part and now they'll do theirs. We are back at the M.A.S.K shuttle with Matt and Alex, who are exploring the interior, in which Matt comments that it's like a space-age Trojan horse. Suddenly, the M.A.S.K shuttle quakes and he instructs them to run outside. They notice that the airboat rather, is on fire. Then we see a laser blast strike it again as they run for cover. Here we see Jackhammer transforming into tank mode, and it's blast the airboat again, with Alex commenting that their ride home went up in smoke. Matt slightly quips that, and then states they need to get Dagger off of their trail and then call on the team. Dagger shouts, Dagger shouts, "Come on out and play, boys." Matt instructs Alex to distract him while he uses the smoke to their advantage. Alex shouts over Alex shouts over here as he tugs on a vine, shaking a large tree branch. Dagger looks over and faces Jackhammer uh, towards it, but cannot see anything because of the smoke. Matt sneaks up behind and then climbs under Jackhammer and pulls a MacGyver using his Swiss Army knife and cuts the brake line. I thought that was actually pretty cool because I'm actually going over MacGyver right now. I'm in season 6 right now. So it's pretty cool. So anyway,
That's funny.
um, anyway, he runs out from underneath Jackhammer and into this thick brush. And as he comments, "Have a nice trip, Dagger." Over his shoulder, we see some more brush moving with Dagger seeing it. Dagger drives over to it, which seems like it's a real long distance from basically the
It
way it's set
did.
up. Then he notices that the brakes are out and he crashes into a tree. Mayhem radios to Dagger and asks what's happening, and he states that the intruders are long gone. Well, then Mayhem replies that, to come back to the Cape as the shuttle will be there soon. All the while, Matt and Alex have been eavesdropping onto this radio conversation. Matt states the obvious, that the shuttle is the plot, and Alex states that there must be someone on the inside, and they walk over to the mock-up, in which Alex states, "Too bad they can't fly this one, as it's a long walk back to the reptile farm." Pausing here, what
Hmm.
I didn't like or didn't understand was the brake lines are cut on Jackhammer. He crashes Jackhammer,
Then he takes
and
off
yet
again.
then he takes off.
Yeah.
Like, what's he gonna do? Drive until the thing crashes again? How,
Yeah.
but
That didn't make sense.
what I did like about this scene was how he's driving it. You see him just slightly steer. I'll call it the steering wheel. It looks more like the Knight Rider, you know,
Yeah, it
pilot
does.
pilot joystick. But that I liked. I really did like the scene, except for the I'll call it the big flaw of driving off with no brakes.
Right.
That was pretty
Yeah,
cool.
it was cool to see the controls themselves. You don't
Yes.
I think this is probably the first time we've gotten a look at the turret cockpit, I guess I'll call it, and how he steers and some of the buttons there, and you see he's got an intercom where Mayhem radios in.
Hmm.
So yeah, it was just neat to see kind of a close up of that, which
What
we
I didn't
hadn't
like,
before.
and I'm just now thinking about it. I didn't think about it at the time, but uh, obviously it set the scene up for Matt and Alex. But you know, don't they always radio through the masks? So
Yeah,
why
and
is it that he's going over like lack of a better term, an actual like true radio,
Yeah.
PA radio rather, type setup. I mean, it
Well,
works out, but it, I'm just now, it just dawns on me that this is the disconnect.
right. And again, this is another inconsistency because we've seen Mayhem with a walkie up to the Viper mask, communicating with the team.
Very
And there's
true.
other times where they just, there's essentially built into their masks, or at least that's what we assume. So it's just inconsistent how they're communicating back and forth.
Right.
But anyway, well, we head back to the farm. One of the boys tells Scott, I think it was that M.A.S.K guy,
Hmm.
um, they have a lot of neat junk to show him. Scott peruses this junk pile, and then he looks out at the airboat near Thunderhawk, and he tells T-Bob maybe he can modify him a little bit. We head back to Matt and Alex. They're now walking back. Alex complains that their walk really isn't a stroll in the park. Matt suggests they rest and that they might make it back before dark. Well, Matt sits down next to a tree, and a snake slithers down and bites Matt on the arm. Alex quickly reacts by making a whip out of a nearby vine to essentially scare off the snake. Alex wraps the vine around Matt's arm to slow the poison from spreading, and Matt asks him if the snake was lethal. Alex confirms that, and he was giving him a 20-minute to 2-hour essentially window before it, could really harm him. And his snake bite kit was destroyed. That was in the airboat.
Hmm.
Well, Matt says they better get moving as he is already feeling dizzy. And Alex puts one of Matt's arms around his neck, and they begin walking again as we fade to the dramatic commercial break. So that was a quick first half of the episode.
It was,
When
and
we
I,
stopped
I clocked it. It was, usually it's usually our
around 11 minutes.
it was at 9.5 minutes, and usually it's at
Yeah,
11. It's right at the true halfway. I think the recording is about 22 minutes, 21, 22, depending
right.
on what it is. So yeah, this is like an early commercial. So
Yeah, it was. So how you feeling so far?
so far I'm really liking this. Far better cry than the last episode. Better. Lots of drama, great animation. Like I said, you saw the detail of Dagger driving Jackhammer. Not a lot of lame jokes, which is a plus. uh, we get the plot, and though we don't exactly know what this mock shuttle is being used for, it still ends up being a great setup for Dagger to basically entrap Alex and Matt. I enjoyed the tactic of using the smoke to distract Dagger so that Matt could cut the brake lines. But like I said, it wasn't consistent. He crashes
Yeah.
and then he drives off. What's he gonna do? Ride the emergency brake all day?
Yeah,
Um,
didn't kind of follow through on it. Yeah.
right. Um, that's basically where I marked it down. Was that I didn't even think about the radio until we were just talking about it. The snake bite does build some suspense to it. As much as I wanted to, I really didn't ding the watch alarm for being as horrendous as it was. But they're consistent at being inconsistent. Um, what I did like also that added to it, I don't know if you noticed, but there was so much more detail in all of the characters' eyes. Did you see this where they were really using widening, squinting, looking? It was like finally someone in the art department said, you know what? We really don't do much with the eyes. Let's add a little,
Hmm.
intrigue or something. There was a lot of that. I loved that they gave the cartoon more life, essentially.
Yeah.
So
Well, it was
in
good
the end,
animation. I didn't really pull that out particularly, but I did notice they had some uh, really good shots, and
yeah,
animation was top.
it was. That's I knocked it down at point one because of the brake line inconsistency. So I'm at a 4.9. I'm loving uh this episode thus far. How
Yeah.
about you?
I'm right there with you. I don't do the point one. I usually am at the half
Yeah,
point,
I've been trying to avoid
But
it, but this was a ding. I had to ding it.
yeah. But I didn't find enough in there to knock it down a half point. So I'm still at a 5. Really liked how it started off. You got a little bit of drama there with the kids trapping themselves in there, or kid.
Mhm.
Um, there was the little disconnect with me was the boat. You hear the explosion, they run outside, it's on fire, and then we see Jackhammer converting. So
True.
it's probably just added in there for that conversion sequence to see for the kids to see it, can transform.
Changing.
But
Yeah.
that was a little inconsistency there because if he had already fired upon it, his gun should have already been out. That kind of a thing. But there's always good drama when M.A.S.K's leader is in danger, and this isn't the first time for him, but it was a potentially pivotal twist to the episode from going after Venom to helping Matt stay alive, that kind of a thing. So we know Venom's involved and they're going to try to steal the shuttle at this point, but how is this all going to play out with trying to get Matt back on his feet and then going after
Right.
Venom? So I like the drama. It wasn't like there's a couple episodes where there's one where he was on a conveyor belt, going into a hay baler or something.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and that was like some real imminent danger that was taken care of quickly. But this drama, continued basically throughout the whole episode with him. So I thought that was good and a nice change of pace. And like you, I like seeing a little more of the technology. Matt getting a call, essentially to his watch.
Right.
Um, I thought that was, I don't remember that happening before. It's usually just an alarm to let people know to get your butt to Boulder Hill.
Right.
And then we talked about the jackhammer turret. And then I really like that Venom has yet again infiltrated and manipulated people essentially outside of their organization, I would think, to do their dirty work. So, and I think it's later in the episode where Miles says, when he buys somebody, the top person, that
Mhm.
kind of a thing.
Right.
So I like that. I like that. They it's not just the same Venom characters, and they use or manipulate people outside of the organization. So I thought that was really good. So I'm at a 5. I'm gonna keep it there until we get to the end of the episode. We'll I guess figure out where we land.
Alrighty. So we return with T-Bob floating along the river as an airboat with a funky fan sticking out of his head, but it works. Uh, Scott states that Matt's airboat left a trail for them to follow, so they should be able to find the shuttle. Suddenly, Scott sees something, and then they end up meeting up with Alex and Matt along the shoreline. Alex asks Scott to come over immediately, and we get to see T-Bob transform from airboat mode to robot as Scott
Yeah,
worriedly screams, "Dad!" Sorry.
it was kind of weird. I was trying to figure out what he used for his like pontoons. I guess they were filled with air or something because they
Yeah.
kind of shrunk and disappeared up into his chassis. I thought
Hmm.
at first maybe it was like some canisters or something, but that was kind of weird anyway.
Inflatable pontoons.
Yeah.
Matt states that he cannot go further, that he has an awful fever, which I don't know how you know that you have you have a fever unless you see you're hot, but whatever.
Right.
Alex tells them that Matt's been bitten and instructs them to get back to the reptile farm ASAP to get the antitoxins kit. Scott makes a good suggestion that T-Bob carry him back. However, Alex states that Matt is basically too weak to move. Then Matt starts saying his arm that he can't feel it. T-Bob suggests that he uses T-Bob's uses his radio to call ahead for the serum. Alex uses T-Bob's intercom and instructs. This is really cool. Instructs
Yeah, I thought this was
the
great.
yeah instructs the Thunderhawk computer to activate and then route the message through its loudspeaker, basically a PA speaker. So an alarm sounds from Thunderhawk, which looks like it spooks the two boys. Then Alex
Mhm.
asks for them. Mike responds with Alex uh, replying back to have them go to the lab to go get the vial of the snake venom, anti-venom kit. Alex continues that T-Bob will come get it, and then Mike states that they know where it is and will get it. And as the boys run off, Alex instructs the Max computer to do with a code 1330 and has it recommend the best agents for our mission.
Mm-hmm. And we get and that was cool. I mean, I like that he used like two different code numbers. The
Yes.
computer recognized that and what to do with it, and that he essentially knew that off the top of his head. So there's probably several other codes that you can activate Thunderhawk with, which I thought was pretty cool. Anyway, the computer selects Dr. Julio Lopez,
Which we now learn is a
to
doctor. I don't think we've ever heard
well,
of a doctor.
I think in the previous episodes he's had his little call up scene is he's at the doctor's office or something. Well, I don't know. He was playing chess.
Yeah, I don't think they've identified
One
him as a
time.
doctor. It's now a doctor this episode. So it's,
You
either
could
way,
be
it's
right.
cool.
Anyway, yeah. So they call him up to monitor Matt essentially, and his little scene is he's at his office with a patient, goes behind a changing curtain, and when he comes out, Julio's gone. Computer also selects Dusty for his all-terrain vehicle and his experience in marshy areas like the Everglades. And his little scene is he's setting up chairs to open up the restaurant and essentially rushes off.
Mhm.
Computer also selects Ace Riker for his piloting experience and space shuttle knowledge.
Ooh.
He's holding, I think he's the one with the hardware store, and he's holding a chainsaw. He gets the call and places it and his apron on a nearby dummy and walks out of the store. And then we get the computer pre-selecting Alex Sector as the mission leader. And Alex approves the team and orders to assemble. And then we head back to the space shuttle and the ominous Venom theme. And we hear, and we see Vanessa and Rax and Dagger approaching a door. Vanessa inserts a security key card, and the door opens up, and there is Mayhem, and he introduces his what he called his shadow, his contact on the inside, which is Major David Klaus. And the Major shows them the controls to override the test program that they're going to be doing and says the rest is up to Vanessa. He continues that she's only got one shot at this, or it'll be a short trip for all of them. And this is where Mayhem assures him that they have nothing to fear, and that when he buys somebody, he buys the best. Whether they are, whether they are pilots or security chiefs. So now we understand who this Major is. He's the, excuse me. So now we understand who this Major is. He's the security chief of the shuttle control there. Well, then Mayhem kind of proudly states that he's about to steal the most powerful force ever created, and not even M.A.S.K can stop them. Spoke too soon. Anyway, we head back to the farm now as Scott and T-Bob arrive.
Right. So he asks for the Scott arrives and asks for the antitoxin. Osk tells them to go ahead as T-Bob is twice as fast as their airboat.
I doubt that.
I agree. But nonetheless, Osk tosses the kit and they run off back to Matt. Alex gives him the shot and tells Matt to try to relax. Matt jokes that it's just what he needed. Nurse T-Bob. And we see T-Bob with the fan now facing down or facing forward on him, basically giving him a little bit of a cool breeze.
And that was cool. One thing that kind of took me out of the episode for a little bit is when they essentially drove off with the serum, and I was a little confused. I was like, why did Scott need to jerry rig T-Bob as a boat when they're just essentially driving along the land to get to Matt? I guess that's maybe why T-Bob was faster, now that I think about it, being able to ride. But I don't know. That just kind of
could be, or there was the disconnect that they airboated back and then airboated back to the Matt and Alex. The downside is there was a big disconnect. You didn't know how they went back and forth, but
right.
Nonetheless, it's there. The
Anyway.
serum truly works quick, as Scott says. He thinks it's working. Matt opens his eyes and grabs Scott's hand, and even kind of comes out of the fog like he didn't even realize Scott and T-Bob were really even there. He just like, oh, hey, Scott. He adds that for once, Venom has gotten the better of him. Alex states that his taxi service is here with Matt asking what about the shuttle and the team. Alex advises him that he's taking care of it all and that he has an appointment for 2 weeks of bed rest. And this is Julio's orders. Matt mocks, oh, great, just great. We're back at NASA, where we see Miles instructing Vanessa that once they have control, she's supposed to fly over the mock-up in the Everglades. She's exasperated about the number of times they've gone over this scenario. But basically, she states it for us, the audience. She's supposed to fly under the radar and have them think she crashed as they fly off with the shuttle. And we are now back at, I guess, a farmhouse. I don't know where we're at. It's kind of a disconnect here. It's not a hotel.
No, I was thinking it was back at Alex's, what do you call it, a reptile farm?
Reptile farmhouse, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just maybe his living quarters there or something. But anyway, we're back there. Matt's in bed. T-Bob brings him a stack of pillows with Matt telling him, watch out. And T-Bob trips and the pile of pillows goes on top of Matt. And now Matt thinks his cure is worse than the actual snake bite. Just we'll discuss it with T-Bob and his nursing abilities, I guess. Anyway, Matt says he needs to get out of there and meet the team at Cape Canaveral. Well, Julio enters about that time and tells him that that's definitely not happening, that he's been suffering double vision, partial paralysis, and fever. He states that he'd be a danger to himself and the mission. So Matt says if he can't play, then he'll coach. So he reaches over and contacts Alex, who is now in the transport plane via the laptop.
Did you notice during this whole episode, or this little tiny scene, where the music bed just abruptly stops?
It did that twice in the episode.
Did it? I only caught it this one time.
Yeah, it excuse me. It stops here, and I'm trying to think where it did it another time. I'm like, what's up with the sound guy? Because he's not fading this out. It's just like a really abrupt ending to the the music. Don't know. I definitely noticed it though, so it kind of took you out of the episode there. But anyway, from the transport plane cockpit, let's see. Alex says he used Dragonfly, which is Julio's vehicle, to rendezvous with the team while Matt was asleep.
Now, I'm going to stop you here again. Did you notice how Ace's sleeves changed colors?
No, missed that.
It's not maybe
inside
a second.
Plane?
inside the plane when you first cut to the inside of the transport plane. They're one color, I think they're yellow, and then they flip to white or vice versa.
Hmm.
And it's just a quick blip, but I see it. It's like they forgot to color him in or had the
Yeah,
wrong color, one of the two.
color one of the cells or different color on one of the cells.
Right.
No, didn't notice that. Didn't I missed that altogether. Um, well, after Alex tells Matt this, Matt sarcastically says that he gets benched and everyone deserts him. And he asks for their ETA with Cape Canaveral. Alex says 15 minutes away, and he has clearance to land from the PNA. I thought it was cool they name dropped them in there.
Yeah, it's been a while since they name dropped them.
Mm-hmm. Matt reminds him there's a pre-launch test run this afternoon, and it's a perfect opportunity for Mayhem as he kind of lays back and he's acting really exhausted now by just by talking to Alex. Alex shows a little concern as Julio kind of gets on the horn and says his fever's coming back and he'll keep the team updated via the comm link. Weekend Matt tells them to get Venom or there'll be a threat to national security. Scott and T-Bob kind of look on and then look at each other with a concerned expression on their faces.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get back to the shuttle with Switchblade, Piranha, and Jackhammer now in view at the airfield. Mayhem tells Rax now, and he shoots open some building doors with his stiletto mask. We see Vanessa enter the cockpit, and then the M.A.S.K transport plane lands. And one of the tower guys radios to M.A.S.K that they have the general's full support, and they've checked the base, but they've found nothing. The mouth doors open on the transport plane, as I call them, and Rhino and Slingshot and Gator roll out of there. Alex radios back from Rhino to confirm the tower's message and tells him to clear the area of all support personnel. Rhino essentially rolls right past Jackhammer. I don't know how he could miss that.
Exactly.
With Dagger saying, Mayhem figured wrong, I guess, about, M.A.S.K showing up. He converts Jackhammer and immediately begins shooting the turret lasers at Rhino. And Alex says they are under fire and gives the command for defense mode, which triggers the Jackrabbit mask dropping. And then we get a sequence of Ace getting his Ricochet mask. And then basically just a shot of Dusty with his mask.
Already on, yeah.
Already on. Then we get a really cool sequence of Rhino extending the battering ram grill and lowering the guns. We finally see Slingshot kind of in action. It opens up and launches that little red jet inside. And then we get Gator lowering the roll bar gun from the top, and Dusty gives a Yahoo! And look out, Venom M.A.S.K is here. And then we cut back to the space shuttle, which is beginning its launch sequence.
Right. We're given the countdown of, I think it's 24 minutes, I think is what they said. But anyway.
I think he said 2 minutes.
That's what I thought he said originally. But as you go on, you see the count as 24. So I don't know if it was a...
That could have been. Yeah, I missed that.
So, but anyway, there's the countdown to start. Whatever the time is, the countdown started. But there's a lot of guests in the area. Intruder alert. We see Switchblade arise with Miles instructing Rax to hit the override. Rax resumes the countdown and states that they get out of there before they get fried like hot dogs on a grill. And of course, all I could think of is a little scene from is it Hot Shots, where they're grilling the hot dog from the jet engine.
Yes, I remember that.
So Switchblade transforms into jet mode, and Miles instructs Vanessa to rendezvous as soon as she is clear. The slingshot jet begins to chase Miles as he instructs Rax to get M.A.S.K off his tail. Rax walks up to Piranha, pops a wheelie, and begins shooting. That was actually pretty impressive. He didn't at least fall off of Piranha like usual.
Right.
So, we know he has skills. Just most of the time, it's not the skill is getting, being
Yeah.
flopped off the bike. Ace replies that he'll teach him to mess with an old ex-test pilot. Um, Here, it to me, there was no delineation between Rax and Ace. They're all the same voice to me. It's
Yeah.
it's like it's like he couldn't change the voice quick enough, or he forgot to change the voice, or it's just so close that to me it was like either one's you're talking the same voice to me.
Well, yeah, there's a little bit, I think, different pacing there with Rex. I think he talks a little bit faster, and Ace is more that John Wayne kind of
Hmm.
style. I'll teach you to mess with that next test pilot, Pilgrim. Anyway, I didn't really notice that there.
This one, it was just this specific scene. It just seemed like it didn't change, but nonetheless, we're on the ground. We see Jackhammer chasing Rhino. Then laser spray around Jackhammer with Dagger asking him, where'd he come from?" Alex stops and tells Ace he's all his. So Ace
Now
blasts. Sorry.
this killed me right here because Rhino stops and Jackhammer just drives right past him.
Yeah,
It was like,
and Rhino could have obliterated him with the smokestack lasers.
yeah, or Rex could have kept firing on Rhino,
True.
just because Ace fired a couple shots at him. You would think his focus would have still been Rhino, but he just kind of lets him go and drives right past him. Anyway,
Anyway, um, Ace blasts Jackhammer, and at first I thought he enveloped them in a cloud of smoke. But later on in the scene, it looks like he uh, kind of melted the concrete and then encased them. But we'll get there. I couldn't make it out, but we
yeah,
get there later on because basically they laser shoot at each other to break out of that whatever encasement that they're in.
but it looked to me like it was moving, like it was smoke, or
Yeah.
I don't know what it was.
But anyway,
Play-Doh.
for all we know, yeah. And next we see next we hear we see and then hear the announcement that the shuttle is launching as we see Dusty climbing the tower. And as the shuttle engines ignite, Dusty states that he's a bit too late to color this Bronco. And Alex replies, "Wait, Dusty." Next we see Switchblade scream by. Then Jackhammer and Piranha shooting lasers at each other to clear the smoke or concrete or Play-Doh or whatever that is, like I just said earlier, so they can get out of it. And Dagger
Mm-hmm.
states that he can't stay for the barbecue. So Alex jumps out of Rhino and uses Jack Rabbit rather, flying to catch it. And he actually used the command Jack Rabbit on. Amazing, they
Mm-hmm.
actually do that now. Flying to catch Dusty with him saying, "Thanks for the lift, partner." And then the shuttle blasts off, which the blast knocks over Rhino, which was actually kind of cool to see.
I thought so as well.
So Alex makes a
Um,
call over the laptop.
right, saying the shuttle is launched and they will never catch them in time. Julio and Scott walk into Matt's room, but he's gone, and they can't find T-Bob either. And they hear a noise outside, and they run out and they watch Thunderhawk taking off into the sky. Julio wonders who's flying it. Then we see inside Thunderhawk, we see T-Bob is actually flying Thunderhawk, and a wearied Matt is in the passenger seat. And Matt says the shuttle should be coming in sight soon. T-Bob butts in that he can't fly this thing. Matt says they'll show him and tells him to activate the laser controls. Well, T-Bob hits the wrong button and he makes Thunderhawk into this like descent. It was like he
Really? Was it a descent?
boosted
Because
or
it looked like
something.
it looked like he tried to pop a wheelie sort of in air is what it looked like
I
to
don't
me.
know. I don't know what function he hit, but knocked him off course pretty abruptly there. Um, Matt tells him, no, it's on the right. So he approaches the shuttle and tells T-Bob to lock in the sights. And he says T-Bob thinks they're locked in on the boosters. He calls for Matt and he tells him to fire. So T-Bob hits a button and launches. Well, this rocket kind of pops open from Thunderhawk, which I don't believe have seen. I mean, usually he drops bombs. We've never seen a missile
Launch, right?
From there before.
But here it looks like it just preps itself. It doesn't actually launch in this specific scene.
Right. It just kind of drops down, and it's like it's kicking on the engine. Let me find my place.
Should be cutting to Vanessa.
Yes. So he gets the rocket ready. Vanessa radios to Mayhem from inside the shuttle cockpit, saying they are home free and will rendezvous in 15 minutes. Well, the Thunderhawk missile now is released, and it hits the boosters, and it essentially dislodges the boosters from the shuttle. Vanessa, after this, hit to the boosters, she has to land the shuttle, and it crashes and kind of skids to a halt. She radios to Mayhem that it's worthless now, and he better come pick her up before the authorities show up. And then we see T-Bob flying Thunderhawk lower and into some trees. And then the scene kind of fades back to the reptile farm.
Well, I don't know that it faded because it acted like this was another commercial to me.
Well, it faded to black, and then it was actually a pretty cool transition.
It was, but it still acted like another, like I said, another commercial break.
Right. It fades to black, and then that black screen becomes what was it? Maybe the part of the laptop or something?
Yes.
And as they pan back, it was pretty cool. Anyway, we're back at the reptile farm there. Alex says that this is the craziest thing Matt's ever done. Scott asks if he'll be all right, with Ace saying it was a pretty steep dive. So apparently somehow they were monitoring that Thunderhawk crashed. We get back here now to the scene of the crash with Alex and Scott and Julio. They're on hand, and T-Bob, he kind of comes to, wonders where Matt is, and Matt walks up to him and says he thought they were goners and that he saved the shuttle and both of them. Scott says he was a pretty good pilot too, and maybe Matt will let him fly Thunderhawk with T-Bob. And Matt says, hey, just wait a minute now. Dusty pulls up in Gator, says he tried to track down Vanessa, but they got clean away. And Matt reminds him, but without the shuttle. And he thanks T-Bob yet again and says he doesn't know what he would do without those boys, except maybe giving them some flying lessons. And they all chuckle as we fade to black in the end of the episode. And up to our PSA.
Right. Scott is sunning himself beside the pool as T-Bob runs literally out of the house. Scott shouts to look out for the puddle. Then T-Bob obviously runs into the puddle and tosses all the little balls and slips on the puddle and slides into the pool. Scott talks to the camera at this point and says that T-Bob wouldn't be in this trouble if he'd remembered this one rule, not to run around a pool. He gets up and pulls a flailing T-Bob out of the pool, and Scott tells him that water is slippery, and that makes it dangerous. Don't forget. Didn't correlate, but still a good
It
PSA.
actually kind of did, because I kind of hearkened it back to when when T-Bob brought the pillows in to Matt and tripped and dumped all the pillows onto Matt. So
I guess I could see that.
I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching, but
maybe.
a little tie-in to the episode, not in geography at all, but just in that little tripping action.
Right.
Anyway,
So what's your rating?
uh, I for me it kind of fizzled a little bit at the end. If it had, well, let me just say, overall the animation I thought was top notch.
Mhm.
There was a couple recycled shots in there. The switchblade transformation, that's kind of the one we always see. But it was very good, and there's some very cool shots of focusing. Like when you said when Matt kind of comes awake after he gets the shot, and you see Scott come into focus like he's waking up. There was another shot where you're between a couple people and you focus in on the person in the distance. So they were
Yeah.
pretty inventive with the animation in some of the shots in this episode. I thought Doug did a really great job with portraying Matt's voice as
He
weakened
did.
and hurt. That can't be an easy thing to do. I mean, you really have to have some acting skills to have that come out in your voice, and
Well,
not
yeah,
just kind
because
of show that you're sluggish and all that.
right, and it has to be, being the voice actor that he is, to manipulate your voice at first, just to be Matt Tracker, then to actually
Mhm.
modify it even still to be hurt or in pain or screaming or whatever. Yeah, he was. This is one of his better episodes, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. And like you mentioned, as much as I love Rhino, it was fun to see it get kind of pulverized by the shuttle uh, wake,
Yeah,
I guess you would say,
yeah,
as it's blasting off. It just adds a little more realism to the episode, and that kind of a thing. But like I mentioned, I thought this episode had a real good chance, even through most of the second half of the episode, to be kind of up there on that pedestal with some of our favorites that we've rated in the past. Like Rotex.
right.
I think Salt on Liberty is one. We'll
Mhm.
go through our review in our next episode at some
Yeah,
of the top ones, but had a real chance to get up there, and it just kind of fizzled out for me in some of the battle scenes. Some of it was good, but I didn't buy the smoke or concrete or whatever that was. Jackhammer rolling
yeah, that was a
past
bit of a
Rhino,
disconnect.
and just kind of what happened after that. It was like, well, we saw Mayhem take off into the sky, but it wasn't to battle. He was just getting the hell out of there. And they were all heading back to this whatever rendezvous point with Vanessa. And I don't know. I thought the shuttle itself has boosters. It's not just relying on those huge boosters to get into outer space. It's got some engines and stuff on
It
it.
does.
So that just kind of, I don't know. I was like, she could have still kept going.
Yeah,
Uh, you need to, actually hit the shuttle engine, and then I could see it crash. But anyway, there was just they were really good with the details up until like the last maybe 4 or 5 minutes of the episode. And those details kind of collapsed on making it one of the top tier for me. Just a couple more things, and I'll let you know what I landed on. Like you mentioned, the background music stopping short. I noticed that a couple times, and we noticed that a little more since we've been reviewing the series. But I don't know if anybody, just starting on an episode like this would notice it. But anyway, it's annoyance. I mentioned those dumb smoke bombs. I guess I would have liked to have a little more input to the Thunderhawk computer from Alex before they selected the agents. It, I mean, we know what the situation is when you're watching the show, and this is the tick. This is me being picky, but it's like, uh, computer, Matt is down. I need agents for mission in Everglades, and we've heard Matt say that in the computer, and it just basically gives you the input instead of how does the computer know what's going on? That
Well,
kind of a thing.
if you, well, yeah, and it's a tick, but it's also inconsistent because if you remember way back, and I'm talking at the foundation of Mask,
Hmm.
that was how it started. There was an
Yeah.
assumption that we thought the computer took in, you know, a simple mask agents for the best mask agents for this mission. There was no mission. There was nothing stated, nothing.
Right.
Eventually, Matt started detailing it. And, mission
Right.
in Everglades or mission in Akonda, wherever they're at. Okay,
Yeah.
and now we're back kind of at the birthplace of, assemble the best mask agents.
Yeah.
For what? But
Yeah.
it's kind of back at the birthplace of where Mask was. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's not consistent.
Yeah. It's and like I said, that was more of a tick for me, and would have been nice if he had a little bit more in there. And just the last little thing, I'm glad they used Julio in this episode, but
Yeah.
basically he was only called in to be Matt's babysitter.
But they did say that,
Uh,
really. He was supposed to watch over Matt, and he did.
well, but he really didn't do a great job of that because Matt left
Matt
with
left.
T-Bob.
So,
So I don't know. That was just kind of it's nice that they include another agent in there, but that we have only seen Julio in action like one time over
true.
in Ireland. But anyway, so I only knocked it down in a half point. I was thinking about going down to 4, and I thought, well, I'm not gonna pull it down a full point just because the last few minutes weren't kind of where I had hoped it would go. So I landed on a 4.5, and I rounded up to 5. I thought it was a overall, and compared to some of the more recent ones we've reviewed, it was definitely a couple steps higher. So
Yeah.
that's where I landed on. What did you take away from the second half, and what was your final rating?
Night and day difference between the last episode and this. Uh, like I said, we get the suspense of Matt being bitten by a poisonous snake with the team rushing in. They get the serum. We get to see the new feature of T-Bob. Um, we've already touched on it, but the detail and the complexity of Alex connecting with Thunderhawk computer to first broadcast the message and then to enter that code 1330. Um, it's more of a tick like you, but for this one, I call them the call up funnies because they usually have some kind of outtake to it that's supposed to be comical. Even for me, that I think some of them are too lengthy. These were way too small. It was like
Yeah,
blip
it was
and
very
go.
short. It was quick, very quick.
Yeah. To me, it was just a hair too small. I don't know why. I just again a tick, nothing major. It's just different. Again, like I said earlier, we learned that Julio is a doctor now. Um, the setup to take the shuttle via basically a different set of controls was good. It added to the suspense. I don't know that I would buy that. That there's a separate set of controls for NASA. I'm sure there is in the grand scheme of things. Like uh, I don't know, Houston and some other entity.
Right.
Uh, I don't know, mission control or whatever. But a little switch outside the room, I don't buy it. But it is a cartoon. I didn't knock it down. Just a tick.
Hmm.
The mock shuttle was a good ploy for Venom to use, so they could grab the real shuttle. Like you, I
Made
noticed that the
sense.
music, yeah, and like you, the music bed kind of just stopped abruptly. I only caught it once. I didn't catch it that second time like you did. And Ace's sleeves changing; those were markdowns, minor, but they were markdowns. Uh, the team being attacked and Alex calling the shots, um, with Matt basically coming in with T-Bob to essentially save the day. The detail of Thunderhawk crashing was actually good to see the window broken out, and it looked like it was propped up against a tree.
Hmm.
And then like you said, Rhino. We like to see the the mortality
And
of the vehicles being hit. We both liked that. And then, like I said earlier, the eye details, like they really wanted to capture the eyes this time. To me, this was such a great episode. I did mark it down, little tiny points, but honestly, to me, it wasn't even worth knocking it down a full half point. So this is a 5 for me,
cool,
hands down.
cool. Well,
I did
that's
not see
good.
any similarities either. I tried.
Yeah, nothing, no similarities to our movie script that I pulled out either. So let's just end our personal reviews there and head over to some listener feedback. I've got the poll up. We had just 8 votes this time, but they were all in the upper part of the rating. We had 38% for both 5 and 4, and 25% was 3. So no 2s or 1s in this rating from the listeners. So apparently we're on the right track with them, and
Yeah.
we got several listener comments, and Anna leads it off.
Right. This is one of my favorite episodes in the entire series. I love to see Vanessa as an astronaut and Man's comment, when I buy someone, I buy the best about her. She seems to be able to pilot all crafts, which is really cool. It's also fun to see Alex Sector take over a mission take over as mission leader and T-Bob ending up saving the day at the end. I suppose the main reason why I like this episode so much is that a lot of unusual things happen, and that makes it very entertaining, especially the part about Matt being bitten by a snake and Alex taking over as mission leader. It's nice to see that mask agents have vulnerabilities too. Apart from one time with Gloria early in the series, it's not often that we see them get hurt, in spite of all the dangers they are exposed to. That's actually great because, like you
Mhm.
identified, we don't see a lot of. Uh, Usually, there's a set routine. Matt's the
Yeah.
leader. You typically know the plot to some degree with Mayhem, but this was that, like you identified, Anna. It's that whole. They decided to go outside the norm. Make Vanessa this space shuttle pilot. You make T-Bob basically one of the heroes of the day. Coincidentally, you make that nice, cool video of T-Bob there, Jason. Um,
Yeah, I used some footage from this episode too of him
yeah,
flying Thunderhawk, and yeah, that was it was nice that Matt thanked him twice at the end as well.
right,
But yeah, I like her point that we don't get to see. It's just like in GI Joe or anything else. We don't see the people hurt very often,
right.
and or in any kind of life threatening uh, places. Um, I do remember that one episode. I think it was essentially quote unquote friendly fire. Brad, I think, collided with Gloria, and he kind of
Yeah.
blamed himself.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you think of the very first episode in the Death Stone where Hondo gets hurt, and they
Oh
need
yeah.
the healing power from the Death Stone at the end to essentially bring him, get him healthy again. So yeah, that doesn't happen. That might be the only couple other times that we've seen the mask agents hurt. So very good point there.
And
And
that takes
then
us on to John T. Trigonis.
yep, John. This episode was certainly one of the better ones for me. Minor flaws. I'm becoming more and more interested in how the computer determines the best agents for the mission, when in this case, Alex tells it nothing about what the mission is. This is basically what we just talked about. Um, some of the best lines in any Mask episode, mainly Mayhem's comment about buying the best. And I did like seeing the team wouldn't fall apart without Matt in the driver's seat, literally, with regard to T-Bob flying Thunderhawk. And best of all, and unlike the episode we're introduced to Ace and Slingshot, we actually see Slingshot in action. And it totally made up for that other episode. So I would agree. It was, again, when they introduced the characters, it's really good. And I kind of give them a little bit extra points when they show the full function of the
Right.
vehicles as
Right.
well. And they didn't do that. And I think we even noted that. And I might have even harped on them for not doing that in the episode. But yeah, it was good to see that slingshot in action. And then our next comment's from Decker.
Right. I think overall that this is a pretty good episode. As a kid, I really thought they were going to kill Matt Tracker in this episode. Always freaked me out. But I loved seeing Alex in charge, Julio as a doctor, T-Bob flying Thunderhawk, and Venom actually doing an infiltration mission. Small things that I liked. Small shout out to the PNA giving M.A.S.K permission to land at Cape Canaveral. T-Bob passive aggressively destroying Scott's plane. Matt sabotaging Jackhammer. I kind of feel like if this episode was made today, the military guy working for Venom would have been Mayhem's brother from the racing series. Still could be, I guess. And then John T basically adds a comment to that. I enjoyed the passive aggressive T-Bob too. So that's a kind of comical, but yeah, um, quite
That was
agree.
good.
I think this could have been
Yeah.
um, Mayhem's brother um, if it were to have worked out better. But yeah, that was good input.
Mm-hmm. And then we've got one more comment from Jade Von Weir over on our Facebook page, and I'm going to try to summarize again as she put several points on here. But she says, I've got the old frosted shredded wheat commercial complex. I split the difference and gave this one 3 stars. Kid in me loves it. Still does, honestly, hence the conflict. Adult in me goes, Venom should have won this one. It shows as I have an shows enough as I have no problems with any of them in this episode. Why? Pretty much each mask agent, while yes, they are human, loses common sense at some point in the episode. Alex milks the snake for the venom to make the antidote and knows the Everglades is ripe with poisonous snakes. So why didn't Alex have the anti-venom kit with him at all times when they're in the marshes? I guess that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, he had it in the boat, but I don't know. Anyway, why did Dusty think it's a great idea to climb the ladder to the launching shuttlecraft? Julio already knew Matt was going to try and go on the mission and had already attempted to. So why didn't he or Scott sit by Matt's bedside all the time? T-Bob, I still haven't figured out why he'd agreed to fly Matt and Thunderhawk, knowing he wasn't well. I guess he's a robot, and he kind of has to say what.
Well, T-Bob seems to be easily coerced into things. Scott usually drags him into something.
True.
So
Matt's experiencing all those effects of the bite, had the dizzy spell, and actually faints in Thunderhawk from the fever. Yet he thinks, yeah, we'll go chasing a shuttlecraft, T-Bob and me. Well, they said when Alex radioed in, said that he wouldn't be able to reach him in time. So I guess Matt is thinking he's the only hope to do something about this before they get away. So I can buy into that a little bit more, I guess, than she did. Things she liked, Alex and Matt outwitting Dagger without using their masks and weapons. On the flip side, I like Venom actually being smart enough to have Dagger to protect the fake shuttle. I like the scene where Alex is milking a snake for the Venom. I wish more cartoons put real life in them and treated the adults as adults like M.A.S.K did. Them actually showing what would happen if Matt was incapacitated before a mission. Nice to see Julio automatically called out on a mission in this case.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, okay, I admit it, I like T-Bob more in this episode for the comic relief because he's not trying to be funny, which is her pet peeve. Not as many puns either, which is a nice break. His destroying the plane was quite nice. So I kind of agree with that. And like I've said before, when they try to be funny, when they try to come up with the puns, that wears on you really quick. But when it's more natural or they're feeding off each other's quirks, the humor is a lot better. And I think I even put in my notes one time when Matt came out of the when he got the shot and he kind of came out of his little spell there, and he's almost immediately started in with a pun, and I was like, oh, I guess he's feeling better. He's back with the puns.
That's it.
So I mean, it's something you got to kind of live with when you're watching these episodes. But I think we've gauged that level so many times throughout, reviewing 50 episodes now, that we know when they go overboard with the puns, and we know what's tolerable. At least I have that kind of feeling in my head. I'll give you a few here and a few in the second half, but sometimes even a few, if you do them back to back to back, I'm like, oh, come up with some dialogue. Come on. Anyway, thank you, Jade, for chiming in at length, as you always do. We do appreciate those. And
oh yeah,
we do appreciate those and the others, even if it's just a short little review. We'll definitely read it back for you. And I guess that's going to about do it for our Everglades Oddity review. And coming up next, as we've done in the past, or if you're new to our show, after each 10 episode stretch, we go back and basically just touch and do a little mini review of what happened and our ratings on each episode in that stretch. And then we come up with our favorite and least favorite moments of those 10 episodes. And then what I enjoy most is kind of putting the stats together and then comparing to all the other seasons of MASKast that we've done, like episodes 1 to 10 and 11 to 20. I think, if memory serves me correctly, our best stretch or our highest rated season was season 3, which I think was 21 to 30.
I think so. Yes.
Which was, I remember it being surprising that we rated it above those first 10 episodes, because a lot of those first 10, we had a lot of 5s and 4s in there.
Right.
But I don't know. We'll see. This is honestly, and again, we haven't been consistent with releasing these episodes and doing 1 or 2 reviews each month. But I can't remember many 5s in this stretch, so I'm a little worried this might be kind of on the lower end of the quote unquote spectrum, as I come up with a pun. Overall in this
right.
In this review, to review all the episodes. So it'll be fun. I think it'll be quick to put together. So maybe, Wyatt, we can get together fairly soon and knock out this overview, and then get right back into episodes 51 to 60. So
yeah, it sounds great.
Anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
No, just for like you said, the new listeners, if you are listening, we've classified seasons every 10 episodes. For us, we're on basically season 5 of our little segment, so-called. But otherwise, no, there's not much more to add. We appreciate all the listeners, all your input. It's actually great to have the input. It doesn't matter how lean or how thick it is. We enjoy all the comments, reviews. We enjoy the votes, and we treasure your guys' interaction there on our Facebook page as well. There's so many fans. And we seem to, yes, and Twitter, and we seem to find more and more routinely hitting us up. So it's awesome.
Cool.
So
I'd say we get on out of here and we start doing our homework for the next episode.
Sounds good. So once again, thank you all for listening and watching us, and thanks for joining us on MASKast. And thank you all who have been staying on and watching us on the pregame show.
And now post-game show.
Yeah.
Yes. Let me, while maybe we got a few people
Still
that
listening, watching.
actually watch us. I was trying to maybe pull back the curtain a little bit and go over and get some stats from Audiometric, who is our host for MASKast. Since we've done now, this will be our 83rd episode.
Yeah.
Total, which is pretty crazy to think about. Well, I started using, I can't remember when I started using Audiometric as the host. It wasn't from the beginning.
No, you
We
changed.
were using Buzzsprout, which limited our record time.
Right.
And if you notice, if you go back and start, listening to episodes that cover like episodes 1 through 10, we were doing shows in, I think, 40 minutes, something like that.
They were
and
really
then,
brief.
And then we'd got the switch and can go unlimited with these guys. So
even our recording, if you know, you the listener would not notice, but our recording, we started with Skype and used Pamela, the free app of Pamela, for the longest time. We had 15-minute windows. So we had to record 15 minutes, and then we both have to be kind of watching the clock going, I think it's about time to cut and go to the next one. And that's how we had to, unfortunately, do it.
And the clock would run out, and then we'd have to stop and start where we were. And then I finally bought the pro version of Pamela, which actually still works pretty good when you're recording off Skype. And we've used that for some of our interviews and such that we've done over the course of the show. But now we mainly use Hangouts just because I can just pull the audio from there and it's automatically posted to YouTube as well. So that's just another.
There's so many benefits to Google. Plus, we have the interaction now that we can do.
Yeah. So I'm just going through the stats, and some of our higher downloaded episodes are in the 400s. Going back a little bit recent, when we chatted about the revolution in the IDW M.A.S.K comic, that's probably number 1. MASKast Chat 11. We were at 428 downloads.
Nice.
On that. We typically are in the 300 range on average for downloads, which is I think pretty cool for the M.A.S.K community. It's not exactly, like I've said before, Transformers or He-Man or G.I. Joe.
No, but that's still a very good following for us.
Yeah.
I know we've kind of, both of us have kind of patted ourselves on the backs at times, and it's not really being boastful by any means. We're just humbled by the fact that we have that much of a following on top of what we have accomplished, and we didn't even know we'd get that far. I've said it.
Right.
I've said it time and again. We've lucked out with talking to Doug Stone and Sharon, and I get the name wrong all the time, so I'm going to let you say it.
Brendan McCain. Yeah.
So we got to see them, and then add to that, we got invited to do the Q&A panel at RetroCon in 2015 to sit alongside Doug Stone. And I know when we birthed this back when we were doing just the script alone, we didn't think this was ever going to happen this way. We thought we were just two guys running a podcast, and that's all it would end up being. And here we are. You got about 400 people listening to us, or downloads. You have people from all over the world talking to us via Facebook, Twitter.
Well, Audiometric gives us actually a fun little map that we can see where exactly our downloads are coming from.
That's awesome.
And I've just pulled it up just in this past week of all the downloads we've gotten. We've gotten some from the United States. We got some all the way out from San Francisco. We get a bunch of hits from Kansas. I'm not sure why that is, but near Wichita, it looks like. Of course, somebody in Montgomery, Alabama, listens to us.
I wonder who that could be.
Chicago. Actually, no, I'm sorry. That's in somebody listening out there. And then around New York City, that was just in the past week. We've gotten some hits there. And then going abroad, over the map, we holy cow, we've got somebody outside of Africa.
Wow.
In the Las Palmas de Gran Canaria. That's an island that's off the coast of Africa,
Really?
east coast of Africa. We got a download there. In Europe, there's a couple people in England, and
One of those could be our
even
buddy Scott.
going. Um, where was the other one I saw? Whoa, that's the United Arab Emirates in the Middle East. There's a
Wow.
hit there. Thought it was further east than that. I guess not, but I know we've had some hits in the past. Australia, Russia. I mean, this is really cool that, and this is just kind of a testament to M.A.S.K's global popularity
Yeah,
after 30 plus years. That they're still. I mean, it's still a worldwide franchise.
it is.
And sneak peek into that, and like you said, on Facebook and stuff, there's groups from Indonesia and all that. And obviously, the majority of downloads and such come from the English speaking countries, but
Mhm.
it's amazing that our show has gone out all over the world.
Right. And like I said, it's not boasting. We're not trying to be,
No.
proud by any means. It's more of a humbling because we didn't know, like we said, we didn't know what would actually come out of this, and
Yeah.
all of our dedication, so to speak, to the franchise itself, and now added to the loyalty we have with our fans, Facebook, Twitter, and
Mhm.
otherwise. It's just humbling is the best way to put it. It's humbling to
Yeah.
us. So just thank you doesn't seem like enough, but thank you is the best way we know how to put it. So thanks for
Yeah.
listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting us via Facebook, rather, the blog, Twitter. It's and even those of you that are out there doing your own thing with M.A.S.K in your own way, your tributes. That's just it's a real testament to uh, how dedicated this cartoon and how much impact this cartoon really had on you, whether as
Yeah.
kids, as adults now. Maybe some of you are late in the game and just kind of getting into it when you were teens. So just
Yeah.
cool.
And I'm still, gosh, I wish we'd get an announcement from Hasbro on the cinematic universe to see if we're actually going to get something, in the next couple years. But I'm holding my breath on that. I've been holding
Yeah.
my breath, since they announced that writer's room. I think it was early last year that they were working on this. And I saw somewhere just this past week that they've essentially killed any GI Joe ideas, and they're going to completely reboot from here. So they're not going to build off of the first two GI Joe movies. So I think that's a good thing.
I think it is
Um,
too. I've yet to watch any of the GI Joes, but anybody I've had reviews that I've looked at, it was kind of like a not quite GI Joe.
yeah.
Um,
Well, the first movie, the character names are there, but the personalities aren't. And yeah, are you going to see gung ho somebody in just a vest and a blue uniform? I don't know. It's you don't want to go too much in the past and just totally date everybody, but that's kind of what, you know, G.I. Joe was built on, with Larry Hama in the comics, and coming up with all the file cards and everything for each character, that they're
Right.
just so diverse, and you really want to see their personalities come out, even from, you know, how they're portrayed on the animated series. But the movies themselves, I own both of the G.I. Joe movies, and I would kind of lean towards the second one as the better, just because we see Cobra Commander more as Cobra Commander, and some of the personalities are there more than the first movie, which was trying to set up the organization and set up the universe essentially, and they made him more kind of bland, like more of just a military, you know, team,
Right.
and not the individuals that make up the team. So anyway, I think it's a good thing, and I'm hoping that means that they'll just try to mesh all of the, well, either try to mesh the other entities that they said they were, including M.A.S.K, in with G.I. Joe, or we'll just get a fresh take on the whole G.I. Joe universe, which might make it easier for M.A.S.K to fit in. So,
Well, they did
anyway,
that with Spider-Man. You know, they had the one with, was it Tobey Maguire?
mm-hmm.
And then, but not even a few years later, they started like fresh again with a different take on how Spider-Man became Spider-Man. Which
Yeah,
to me,
it's
that was too soon. It was almost like they reneged on what they wanted to do in the first place. But
right.
it sold, so you know, they made money.
It's kind of a now Sony owned, or did own, the rights to Spider-Man. Oh, away from Marvel. Marvel's making their own movies now, obviously. So they had to release a new Spider-Man movie every so many years, or they essentially lose those rights. So that's why they rebooted,
Oh,
and we got those the three Tobey Maguire and two with Andrew Garfield, I want to say his name is. I
I don't know his
honestly,
name.
I watched the first one with him, and I wasn't into it, and didn't even watch the second one. So now they've rebooted Spider-Man again with the Spider-Man Homecoming that's coming out this year. New actor, and I believe this is essentially straight out of the Marvel cinematic universe. They're kind of spinning off on that, what they created in the Civil War, the Captain America Iron Man conflict in the last
Right.
one. So this time I've heard a lot of people that they're doing it quote unquote right, versus what Sony did. And Sony did, I think it was Sony or maybe another studio that owned Terminator. And I think that is kind of under that same restriction where they have to release a new Terminator every so many years, and so they can keep the rights. And I think they're finally done with that now, and the rights go back to, I guess, James Cameron. But anyway, so that was a little movie history there, or at least what I've interpreted from what I've read online and
Right.
stuff. But anyway, all that to say, we're behind you, Hasbro. We'd love to hear something, what you got cooking, especially with M.A.S.K, but in their new cinematic universe that they're working on.
Right.
So anyway, I think I've babbled enough. If anybody's still watching on YouTube, I applaud you.
Hey, thanks for watching and listening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
All right.
See ya.